Stop trying to be better. I know that sounds backwards. Everything you've read, every guru, every course says improve yourself, be better, level up. And you've been trying for how long now? Years? Decades? How to be a better partner, a better business person, a better version of yourself. Reading books, taking courses, consuming content, trying harder. Where are you? Still reacting to life instead of creating it. Still making the same choices you know don't serve you. Still unable to commit to what really matters. And here's the better is a better measurement. Better than what? Better than yesterday. Better than your past self. Better than other people. See? Better keeps you comparison in luck, in the energy of not enough. Better is frequency of strength, and strength is a conscious level that will never be what you want. You don't need to be better, you need to be different. Different is a comparative. Different is absolute. Different is creating a new reality. I'm from a different level of consciousness. I'm committing to a different trajectory. Different operates from creation, not reaction. Different operates from choice, not default. Different operates from commitment, not motivation. Today, I'm going to show you the three-part protocol that gives you the better track to transformation. Create, choose, commit. This theory is how reality actually works. And to get this, when you actually embody this, everything changes. Because you became better. Because you became different. Let's break it down. Here is the problem. You are in reaction mode. Most people aren't living, they are reacting. React to what other people want. React to what's happening around them. React to problems, emotions. Wake up, check phone. React to messages, react to news, react to demands, react to feelings, react to problems. All day, every day, reaction after reaction after reaction. And at the end of the day, the week, the year, the decade, you look back and realize you didn't create anything. You just responded to what life threw at you. 9% are reacting, 10% are creating. Yes, 9% of people are in reaction mode. They are responding to extraordinary. They are letting life happen to them. They are making choices, but they are not just into the options life presents. And 10% are creating. They are designing their reality. They are selecting from a field of infinite possibilities instead of just responding to what's up. You are in first. There are different levels of consciousness, measurable, observable levels. At the bottom, the lowest frequencies, you have pure reaction. 20 to 75, shame, guilt, apathy, complete victimhood. Life is happening to you and you're powerless. 100, fear, react to perceived threats, tribal, letting feel dangerous. 50, anger, reacting against what's happening, fighting, resisting, pushing. 105, pride, reacting to maintain your defensive, comparative. All of these are reaction states. Something external happens, you respond. You're not reading anything. You're just managing what life throws to you. Creation doesn't begin until you reach 250 and above. 250 is neutrality. You can observe without reacting. Say openness. Deep and goodness. You can direct energy. You can choose. 350 acceptance. Reality is workable. You can shape it. 400 reason. Understanding. After creation becomes a song. 500 love. Pure green frequency. Reality responds to your being as your action. Most people are stuck between 100 and 200. Your reaction. They're trying to improve the frequency. How do I be a better reactor? How do I react more skillfully? That's a trap. You can't create from real frequency. You have shifted this entirely. Here's the truth. Reality is not one single track. It's a field, an infinite field of all possible outcomes, all possible timelines, all possible versions of your life. Every single version of reality you could ever want already exists in this field. The version where you're healthy and wealthy. The version where you have the relationships you want. The version where you're creating massive impact. The version where you're living with integrity and purpose. All of this exists right now, not in the future, not as potential, as actual frequencies you can tune into. But here's the thing, you cannot access those frequencies from reaction mode. When you're reacting, you're on autopilot. You're cycling through the same patterns, the same thoughts, the same choices. You are on one track, the default track, the reaction track. And you're wondering why nothing changes. To access a different track, a different reality, a different outcome, you have to create it. What creation actually means. Creation is not about making something from nothing. Creation is about selecting which reality you're going to tune into from the infinite field. It's about consciously choosing. This is the track I'm stepping onto. This is the frequency I'm broadcasting. This is the reality I'm collapsing into form. Most people don't do this. They don't create. They default. They default to the same thoughts. They default to the same emotions. They default to the same actions. And then they wonder why their reality stays the same. You want a different reality? You have to create it. Not by reacting to the current one, not trying to be better within the current one. Create a different reality altogether. Here is the mechanism to create a new reality. Intention plus frequency equals reality. Here is how it works. Step 1. Get clear on what you're creating. Not what you want, not what you hope for, what you are creating. There is a difference. I want to be healthy is weak. It is hoping. It's in the future. It's conditional. I am creating optimal health in my body. It's strong. It is present. It is creation. Step 2. Tune to the frequency where that reality exists. Every reality has a frequency. The reality where you're healthy vibrates at a different frequency than the reality when you're sick. You have to match that frequency, not through force, through alignment. What does the version of you who has optimal health think, feel, believe, choose? Tune to that frequency and become that frequency. Step 3. Broadcast that frequency consistently. This is where most people fail. They tune in for a moment, a meditation, a visualization, a moment of clarity, and then they drop back to default. They react to an email and they're back on the old frequency. They have a difficult conversation and they're back to fear. They see their bank account and they're back to lack. Creation requires consistency. You gotta hold that frequency. You have to keep broadcasting the reality you're creating, even when the physical world hasn't changed yet. Even when circumstances suggest otherwise. even when people around you are on different frequencies. You hold, you broadcast, and you create. Why most people can't create? Because creation requires you to stop seeking validation from current reality. Most people look around at their lives and say, "This is what's real. This is what's true. I have to accept this." And then they try to improve within those circumstances. That's reaction. Creation says, current life is just the echo of my past frequency. It's old news. I'm creating something different now. And then you broadcast the new frequency regardless of what's currently manifesting. Yeah, this feels uncomfortable. Your brain will resist. But look at the evidence. Look at what's actually happening. The evidence is old frequency. Let it be. You're creating new frequency. Stay there. This is the first level. Create. Stop reacting to what is. Start designing what will be. Not from hope, from decision, from selection, from conscious frequency broadcast. You are a creator, not a reactor. Act like it now. Now, here is where most spiritual teaching fails you. They tell you to create, to visualize, to align your frequency, and then they leave you floating in the ethers with no grounding. You need something to anchor to, something concrete, something you can actually do. That's where choose comes in. And here is the power of selective choice. Most people think they're choosing all day long. I choose to have coffee. I choose to check my phone. I choose to scroll. I choose to eat this. I choose to say yes to that. Those aren't choices. Those are defaults, reactions, patterns running on autopilot. Real choice is conscious selection from the field of possibilities. Real choice is saying, out of all the things I could do, all the paths I could take, all the versions I could be, I'm choosing this one. And here is what I'm going to tell you to choose every single day if you want to operate at a different frequency. Health, discipline, integrity. Not because they are moral virtues, but because they are frequency anchors. Choose health. Your body is your instrument, your broadcasting device. If your body is sick, sluggish, inflamed, depleted, you cannot hold a high frequency. You just can't. You can try. You can visualize and affirm and meditate. But if your body is in survival mode, your nervous system is not regulated, your brain is foggy, you're going to drop back to low frequency. Choosing health means choosing what you put in your body, not reacting to cravings, not defaulting to convenience, not numbing with food, choosing consciously. This fuels the frequency I'm creating. This supports the reality I'm building. Choosing how you move your body, not because you should exercise, not to punish yourself, not to fix what's wrong, because movement is energy. Energy is frequency. You're choosing to be a being of vitality, strength, aliveness. Choosing rest, not collapse, not burnout, not I'll rest when I'm dead. Choosing rest as a frequency decision. My body needs restoration to hold that frequency, the frequency I'm broadcasting. Most people react to their body. I feel tired, so I'll sleep in. I feel hungry, so I'll eat something, whatever. I feel stressed, so I'll skip the workout. React, react, react. Choosing health means I decide what state my body is in. I create my physical reality. This doesn't mean ignoring your body's signal. It means being the conscious director of your physical state instead of its victim. Choose discipline. Discipline is not what you think it is. Most people think discipline is forcing yourself to do hard things you don't want to do. That's willpower. And willpower is weak. Willpower runs out. Discipline is alignment between decision and action. You decided you're creating optimal health. Discipline is eating accordingly, not because you're forcing yourself, because you decided. And decisions dictate action. You decided you're creating wealth. Discipline is taking the actions that create wealth, not because it's hard, because you decided. Discipline is what happens when you choose from a higher frequency and then act from that frequency consistently. No gap between decision and action. No, I'll start Monday. No, I know I should, but. Decision, action, immediately, consistently. This is how you anchor high frequency into physical reality. Most people live in the gap. They decide at a high frequency moment, I'm going to create this. And then they act from low frequency patterns. Decide from inspiration. Act from habit. Decide from clarity. Act from confusion. Decide from creation. Act from reaction. That gap is where your reality collapses back to default. Discipline closes the gap. You choose, you act, same frequency, immediate, consistent. This is how creation becomes manifestation. Choose integrity. Integrity means wholeness, alignment, no fragmentation. Most people are fragments. They say one thing, think another, do a third. They have values they claim and behaviors that contradict them. They want to create one reality, but their actions create another. You cannot create from fragmentation. You cannot broadcast a clear frequency if you're internally contradictory. If you say you value health, but you eat garbage, fragment it. If you say you value wealth, but you avoid money conversations, fragment it. If you say you value relationships, but you're never present, fragment it. Fragmentation is low frequency. It's internal conflict. It's broadcasting static instead of a clear signal. Integrity is your thoughts, words, and actions aligned. You think it, you say it, you do it. No gap, no contradiction, no pretending. Your values and behaviors aligned. You don't just claim values, you live them every day, every single day, every single choice. Your private self and public self aligned. Who you are alone is who you are in public. No mask, no performance, no hiding. This is rare. Most people are performing, pretending, hiding their true frequency behind a mask of who they think they should be. And then they wonder why they can create what they want. Because you cannot create from a false frequency. You can only create from truth. Integrity is truth, wholeness, alignment. When you choose integrity, you're choosing to broadcast from your actual frequency, not a pretend one. And reality responds to what's real, not what's pretend. Why these three? Health, discipline, integrity. Not because they sound good, but because they are practical frequency anchors. Every single day you wake up and you choose. Am I choosing health today? Am I fueling this body for high frequency? Or am I reacting to cravings and convenience? Am I choosing discipline today? Is there alignment between my decisions and my actions? Or am I living in the gap? Am I choosing integrity today? Am I whole or am I fragmented? These aren't big spiritual questions. They are daily, practical, grounded choices. And they determine your frequency. And your frequency determines which reality you collapse into form. You can visualize all you want. You can affirm and meditate and set intentions. But if you're not choosing health, discipline, and integrity in your daily actions, you're not holding the frequency. And if you're not holding the frequency, you're not creating anything. You're just hoping. Choose, not once, every day, every moment. Health, discipline, integrity. Commit long-term devotion to what matters. Now, we get to the part that separates the 1% from everyone else. Commit. Not motivation, not excitement, not inspiration. Commitment. Here is the problem with motivation. Most people operate on motivation. They get inspired, they feel excited, they have a burst of energy. This is it. This is the thing. I'm going to change everything. And they start strong for a week, maybe a month if they're disciplined. And then the motivation fades. The excitement wears off. Life gets hard. And they stop. They didn't fail because they lacked ability. They failed because they lacked commitment. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings fluctuate. Feelings come and go based on circumstances, energy levels, external validation. You cannot build a life on feelings. You cannot create a reality from motivation. Commitment is different. Commitment is a decision that transcends feeling. I have decided, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what's going on, regardless of results, I am committed. This is the frequency where creation becomes inevitable. What commitment actually means? Commitment means long-term devotion to what matters, not to what feels good today, not what's exciting right now, what matters. And here's the question most people never ask themselves: what actually matters? Not what do I want, not what sounds good, not what would impress people. What actually matters to you at the deepest level? Most people don't know. They've never asked. They are living someone else's definition of what matters. Society says money, status, comfort, security. So they chase those. Not because they matter, because they're supposed to matter. And then they wonder why achievement feels empty, why success feels hollow, why they are restless, even when they say, I have it all. Because they committed to the wrong things. They committed to what they thought they should want instead of what actually matters. And here's how you know what actually matters. If everything was taken away, your money, your status, your possessions, your titles, what would you still care about? If you lost it all tomorrow and has to rebuild it from zero, what would you rebuild towards? That's what matters. For most people, when you strip away the external validations, what matters is health, the ability to be vital, alive, present in your body, relationships, deep, real connection with people you love, purpose, contributing something meaningful, creating something that outlasts you, growth, becoming more of who you actually are, freedom, living on your terms, not someone else's, Everything else is decoration. Now, here's the hard part. Are you committed to what matters, or are you committed to what's easy? Because they are usually not the same thing. What matters requires long-term devotion, patience, consistency, sacrifice of short-term pleasure for long-term fulfillment. What's easy is immediate gratification, comfort, convenience, the path of least resistance. Most people say they are committed to what matters, but their actions show they are committed to what's easy. They say they are committed to health, but they eat garbage. They say they are committed to wealth, but they avoid discomfort. They say they are committed to relationships, but they don't show up. They say they are committed to growth, but they repeat the same patterns. That's not commitment, that's wishful thinking. True commitment requires sacrifice. And here's something that nobody wants to hear. Commitment means saying no to everything that's not the thing. You cannot be committed to everything. You cannot have infinite priorities. If everything matters, nothing matters. Real commitment requires saying no to distractions, the shiny objects, the new opportunities that pull you off course. Saying no to comfort, the easy path, the safe choice, the option that doesn't challenge you. Saying no to people who don't align, the relationships that drain you, the environments that lower your frequency. Saying no to old versions of yourself, the patterns, the identities, the stories that no longer serve. This is where most people fail. They want the result of commitment without the sacrifice. They want the health without saying no to the foods they love. They want the wealth without saying no to time-wasting activities. They want the relationship without saying no to their ego. They want the transformation without letting anything die. You cannot have it. Commitment is devotion, and devotion requires you to put that thing above everything else, not about and above your values, not above your integrity, but above your comfort, above your excuses, about your preferences in the moment. And here is how you know if you're truly committed. Will you still be doing this in 10 years? Not, do I hope to still being this? Not, would I like to still be doing this? Will you, as a matter of fact? Because if you won't commit for 10 years, you're not committed. You are experimenting. You are trying. You're motivated. And that's fine, but don't confuse it with commitment. True commitment is 10 years from now, I will still be choosing health. This is who I am now. 10 years from now, I will still be building wealth. This is a way of being. 10 years from now, I will still be growing. This is a lifetime path. Can you say that about the things you claim to be committed to? If not, you're not committed. You're interested. And interest doesn't create reality. Commitment does. Because when you commit, truly commit, something shifts in the field. It's like the universe recognizes this one is serious. This one isn't playing. This one will not be moved. And reality begins to reorganize around your commitment. Opportunities appear to match your devotion. Resources show up that support your path. People come into your life who align with what you're building. Obstacles that seemed big become workable. This isn't magic, this is frequency. When you're motivated, you are on a fluctuating frequency. You're broadcasting, I want this when it feels good, when it's convenient, when I'm inspired. And reality responds with, okay, here's something, maybe, if you're still interested. When you're committed, you're broadcasting a clear signal. This is happening. Non-negotiable. I am devoted. And reality responds with, understood. Here is what you need. The field responds to commitment. It doesn't respond to interest. It doesn't respond to hope. It doesn't respond to motivation. It responds to devotion. And here's the final piece. You're not committing to outcomes. You cannot control outcomes. You can influence them, but you cannot control them. If you're committed to outcomes, you'll break when outcomes don't arrive on your timeline. You are committing to the path. You are committing to being the person who chooses health, regardless of the scale. You are committing to being the person who acts with discipline, regardless of immediate results. You are committing to being the person who lives with integrity, regardless of the external validation. You commit to the new identity, not the achievement. I'm someone who is devoted to health, not I'm trying to lose weight. I'm someone who creates wealth, not I'm trying to make money. I'm someone who lives with integrity, not I'm trying to be good. The achievement is a byproduct. The identity is the commitment. And when you commit to the identity, the achievements become inevitable because you're broadcasting from a different frequency entirely. Let me bring this full circle now. You've been trying to be better, improve, level up. And it hasn't worked, not really. Not in the deep, lasting way you want. because you've been trying to improve with the same frequency. Better is the wrong question. The right question is, how do I become different? And the answer is create, choose, commit. Create. Stop reacting to reality as it is. Start designing reality as you want it to be. You're not a victim of circumstances, you are a creator, selecting from infinite possibilities. Tune to the frequency where the reality you want already exists and broadcast that frequency consistently, regardless of current evidence. Choose every single day, ground that frequency in physical reality through choice. Choose health, choose discipline, choose integrity, not as morality, as frequency anchors. These choices close the gap between the reality you're creating and the reality you're living. Commit long-term devotion to what actually matters. Not motivation, not inspiration, unwavering commitment. 10 years, 20 years, a lifetime devoted to the path, not the outcome. Devoted to the identity, not the achievement. This is the protocol, not how do I be better at reacting, but how do I become a different being entirely? Create, choose, commit. Simple, strong, grounded. Now, here is what happens when you actually do this. Your life doesn't improve, it transforms. You don't get better results from the same frequency. You access entirely different results from a different frequency. Health becomes effortless because you're no longer fighting your body. You're choosing from alignment. Wealth flows because you're no longer in scarcity frequency. You're creating from abundance. Relationships deepen because you're no longer performing. You're showing up with and in integrity. Purpose clarifies because you're no longer asking, what should I do? You're asking, what am I creating? This is available to you right now, not when you're ready, not when you're better. Right now, you can make the decision, you can choose, you can commit, create, choose, commit. Be different.